Good morning, everybody. Learning is not attained by chance. We need to develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow, said Anthony D'Angelo. You are all here, participants, because of your passion to learn a new skill and move towards excellence. This national level student development program, which offers free online certificate course in effective English language development, is organized by V.V.N. Degree College, Bengaluru in Karnataka state. V.V.N. Degree College, a unit of V.V.N. Trust, is one of the pioneer institutions in Bengaluru, providing academically excellent value-based education for girls students. Since its inception, Vasavi Vidyaniketan Degree College has pioneered the discipline of commerce. Our objective is to provide quality education to girl students and empower them. The college offers graduation course in commerce and has sustained its glorious track record all through the years. The institute is located in one of the most posh locations of Bengaluru, that is V.V.Puram near Basavanagudi, which makes it easily accessible and safe for girl students. V.V.N. Degree College, affiliated to Bengaluru City University, has created an indelible mark for upholding Indian culture and imparting quality education with techno-savvy corporate training programs to enable the students to be confident, responsible citizens with positive thinking and right orientation of mind to face life with all its opportunities and challenges. At V.V.N. Degree College, Vanivilas Road, V.V.Puram, Bengaluru, we offer BCom degree course along with certificate courses for all the students. So the certificate courses along with BCom degree are Computer Fundamentals, MS Office, Tally ERP9, Corel Draw, Photoshop, GST, and in soft skills, we provide communication skills, soft skills, campus to corporate training. On this 9th day of effective English language development online course, I, Prasanna Udpikar, HOD of English at V.V.N. Degree College and the coordinator of this National Student Development Program, am privileged to welcome and introduce today's resource person of the first session, Professor Chetana P., Associate Professor, Department of English, Maharani's Arts, Commerce and Management College for Women, Maharani Cluster University, Bengaluru. Professor Chetana has put in 24 years of teaching experience for undergraduate and postgraduate students. She teaches General English for undergraduate and optional English for postgraduate students. For postgraduate students, she also teaches communicative English and managerial communication. Professor Chetana is member of Faculty of Arts, Bengaluru University. She is member of Board of Studies of English at Bangalore University. She is member of a Board of Studies of MLA College for Women, Bengaluru. And Professor Chetana is the chairperson of Board of Studies of Maharani Cluster University, Bengaluru. Professor Chetana is also invited as subject expert to recruit English faculties at Surana and MS Ramaya colleges. Professor Chetana is busy in academic activities always. She is invited to deliver talks on communicative skills. She has attended and presented at national and international seminars and conferences. Professor Chetana's research articles are published in national and international journals, to mention a few: Resurgence of Faith Narratives from Mythological Works, Indian Epics Revisited, a study of select Indian novels, and others. Professor Chetana is a dedicated teacher who promotes love for learning among students. She is soft-spoken, humble, and open to discussions on student-centered classroom practices. Professor Chetana believes in tailoring her teaching according to the need of the students, which would contribute towards students' success. On behalf of management, Chief Executive for Academics and Administration, principal, faculty members, and students, I extend a hearty welcome to Professor Chetana to this knowledge-sharing digital platform. I also welcome Shri Arun Kumar, President of V.V.N. Trust, CAIS Prasad, Secretary General of V.V.N. Trust, Governing Council Chairman Shri Rajkumar, Co-Chairman Shri Akhilesh Babu, Chief Executive for Academics and Administration, Dr. K. Sheshamurthy, Principal Professor G. Venugopal, and faculty members. I extend a warm welcome to all the English learners attending this online course. Over to Professor Chetana for the session on interview skills.
Thank you very much, Professor Prasanna. Thank you very much for that elaborate and wonderful introduction. Thanks once again. A very good morning to everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank Professor Prasanna for inviting me onto this digital platform to speak on the topic interview skills. I also take this opportunity to thank Professor Prasanna, organizing team, principal, management members of V.V.N. Degree College for organizing such an excellent educative workshop for 15 days, 30 sessions, which is going to benefit thousands of students, especially during this lockdown period due to the COVID-19 pandemic. A commendable venture indeed, Professor Prasanna. Hearty congratulations to you all. With that note, I shall begin my session. In this session, today, I'm going to speak on the topic interview skills, or skills required to face an interview. I'm sure, dear students, you're all aware of the term interview. You'd be aware of the concept or the process of interview. Your brothers, sisters, cousins, relatives, friends, neighbors probably would have told you about how they have faced interviews. They would have shared their experiences with you. You would have seen in movies heroes and heroines attending, facing interviews, and you know what happens to them if they are selected, if they're not selected. Definitely you would have seen that. You would have read in books, you would have read in magazines, because once you come to degree college, you become very aware of the importance of certain skills which are required for you later when you try to go and seek employment. From day one, so it's very, very important, students, that you should equip yourselves with all the skill sets necessary to face an interview. From day one, our excellent professors have been explaining and teaching you about the importance of language and communication. Many professors have touched upon skills like soft skills, communication skills, corporate communication, public speaking skills. All these skills are interconnected. All these skills are interlinked. All these skills, soft skills, public speaking skills, communication skills, interview skills, they're all very, very important at a personal level as well as at the professional level, as was mentioned by our Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bangalore City University, Dr. Jaffet Sir, in his inaugural speech. Students, so after you complete your education, you have to, or your education, it could be undergraduation, it could be post-graduation, you go out into the world to seek employment. Employment means interviews. So you have to equip yourselves with all the skills which are necessary to face an interview. And that is what I'm going to do in this session today. I'll be speaking on the skill set which is necessary for each student to have when they are going to face the interview. I will share my screen now, Professor Prasanna.
Yes.
Yes, is it clear?
Yeah, make it whole screen.
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah.
Yes, done.
Is it now complete?
Yes, yes, very clear and visible.
Yeah, okay. So this is the broad outlay of my lecture for the next 1 hour or so. These are the components of which make the process of an interview. I have written it in an order. We shall take one by one. So first, we will try to understand the definition of interview, then types of interviews, objectives of interviews, how are these interviews conducted, telephonic interviews, face-to-face interviews, concluding the interview, some common job-related questions, and questions to ask at the end of the interview. So let's begin with the definition of an interview. I'm sure you all know what is meant by an interview, but still I'm going to define what is an interview. As a teacher, I'm supposed to do that. So an interview is an oral structured interaction between two or more people. It facilitates exchange of information. There is a definite purpose. There is a definite outcome. It's not too easy, but it's not too difficult also. I can say it's an art as well as a science. Why do I say that? You need all the necessary skill sets to place the facts, that is your resume, your talent, your skills, okay, on the platter in front of the interviewer so that he is impressed and will select you for that position. We'll move on to the next concept, types of interviews. There are several types of interviews. So the first one would be employment interviews. And this is what we are going to learn today. And this is what you also would require. Employment interviews are conducted to find out if the applicant is suitable for the job. They would like to assess you. They would like to assess your capabilities. And that is why these job interviews are conducted. Performance appraisal interviews. These interviews are conducted to obtain and provide job-related feedback. This happens once the employee starts working in a company. And after a period of time, probably they would like to rate his performance. So the manager and the employee will sit and they kind of go through the performance of the employee. Counseling interview. Counseling actually is quite personal and it's a long commitment. But counseling interview, the counselor will use both his interviewing techniques and counseling techniques to provide emotional support to the employee. So they may have certain issues, they may encounter certain problems, and the counselor will sit with the employee and sort out the issues. Disciplinary interviews. These interviews happen to deal with issues which are related to an employee's conduct and behavior. So they may face certain misconduct, misbehavior. So, they will have these disciplinary interviews where someone authoritative will sit and try to sort issues out, try to sort out the things. Persuasive interviews. Persuasive interviews, example, sales interviews, where, one person tries to convince the other person to change their minds, to change their decisions, through persuasion. And that's why it is persuasive interviews. Now, these are all the different kinds of interviews, and this would be helpful for your knowledge base. But we focus in this session on employment interviews. So next, we move on to the component, objectives of an interview. Why are interviews conducted? I'm very sure nobody wants to face interviews. Okay, interviews means we get the jitters. Okay, we get nervous, we kind of stress out. So, but I have to tell you, interviews are a must. For most of us who seek employment, they are a must. We have to go through the process of interviews, facing interviews. Probably business, new ventures, entrepreneurs who start their own businesses, probably they may not require an interview because it's their own. But for others, we definitely need it because no company is going to hire us until they see us and our capabilities. So now let's look at why interviews are conducted. To assess the interpersonal skills of the job seeker. They definitely would like to see your interpersonal skills. How do you interact with others? How friendly you are? Do you have effective interaction skills? So that is what they are going to look at. To assess your communication skills. How is your communication? How do you communicate with others? How are you good with the languages? Okay, so that's also the reason why they want to conduct interviews. To observe behavioral skills. So they'll be watching you, they will watch your behavior. And how do you behave? How do you interact with the front desk people? How do you interact with the security guard outside the gate? So they'll be watching you. Okay, so they want to see your behavioral skills also. Once you sit in front of the interviewer or the panel, okay, of members, interviewers, they'll be watching you. They'll be watching your behavior. To find the aptitude levels, that's most important. Aptitude, it's your natural ability to do something. So they'll try to look at your aptitude levels. So if you're good in numbers and you answer them quickly when a question is asked regarding numbers, they know that you're good at numbers. If you have a flavor for languages, the way you communicate, immediately they know that you have a natural ability to speak, okay, to communicate very well. To find the confidence levels of the applicant. So the foremost and very important component, the confidence levels. It's very, very important that you should have confidence, and it's going to reflect when you enter the interview chamber and sit in front of the interviewer. And so they will be looking at your confidence levels. So the interviews are conducted to get an overall assessment on a sound basis. Okay. And it's conducted to eliminate, to shortlist the unwanted applicants and select the most suitable one for the position. And that is the reason why interviews are conducted. So we spoke about the definition of an interview and the objectives of interviews. Now let's see how are these interviews conducted. So we have two ways: telephonic interviews, and these days it's also online interviews. And the other one is face-to-face interviews, or the standard interviews. So these are the two ways in which the interviews are going to happen. Now we shall take up telephonic interview, the concept of telephonic interview. What are the kind of skills which are required for you to face a telephonic interview? So I have jotted down some guidelines, okay, to help you to go through a telephonic interview. Telephonic interviews, actually, it happens at the first level, okay? And there may be many rounds, okay? Round one, first round, second round, third round, and then probably they may call you for a face-to-face interview. And I'm sure right now, in the present times, in the present scenario, I think it's more of telephonic interviews these days, or online interviews, because the companies have closed and they're not calling anybody to the company. And I think telephonic interviews or online interviews is the way through which people are being recruited. For at least another 1 or 2 years, probably this might be the norm. And telephonic interviews also kind of save a lot of time, energy. It also saves a lot of trouble for the interviewer as well as the candidate. And one thing you should know, telephonic interviews, it's not the be all and the end all. So you prepare yourself well and you do it. You don't have to break your head, get nervous, get agitated over these telephonic interviews. There will be several levels, and once you pass through that, you'll be called for the face-to-face interviews. Now, let's see what is important, what skills you require when you are having a telephonic interview. Keep yourself free at the time of interview, and there should not be any background noises to disturb the interview process. Please don't take up any other job at the time of the call. You have to be there at the telephone to pick up the call. And see to it that the family doesn't make any kind of noises in the room. See to it that you are alone in the room. There shouldn't be any background disturbances. Answer the phone yourself. So you know when the call is going to come, because they would have intimated you. So you pick up the call, tell your family members not about the call, say that by 10:30 I'm going to get the call. Answer with your name so that they know that they have the right person. So you pick up the call and you answer with your name. Use Mr. or Miss and last name. So greet the person using either Mr. or Miss and then the last name. So it could be Mr. Deshpande, Miss Shenoy, Miss Dixit, whatever it is. Do not take the help of anyone. Please note, In case you don't know some answers for the questions, you can't turn around and ask anybody. Okay, please don't do that mistake. You either answer or you say you don't know the answer. Okay, be honest. Sit with a copy of the resume you sent to the company. So I'm sure you would have applied for many companies, you would have prepared many resumes, but when a particular company calls you for an interview, see to it that you keep that resume which you have sent to that company. Do not reschedule the interview too many times. Okay, this is not a choice. There's no choice for you actually, but still, in case of an emergency and due to unforeseen circumstances, you can always reschedule the interview. Call them up and say that, I'm not able to take the interview today. Can you please fix it for tomorrow? So politely, if you can ask, maybe they can reschedule it, not many times, just once or twice. Try to respond to questions within 60 seconds. You can't, think for long and take a long time to answer. The question comes and immediately you need to answer. Let your answer be not too short, not too lengthy. Explain how you can be of value to the company and your job. So you have to, when they are asking questions, make sure that you are telling them you are going to be an asset to the company and that you will do very well with that position. Prepare yourself by understanding about the company, the skill set they are looking for, what you want to achieve, what you're looking for from the company. Please do your research about the company. That's very, very important because they are going to ask a question. We'll come to the questions later. What do you know about the company? Don't think that, they are just trying to, what is this? You may feel, why is he saying that? They want to know whether you have done research of the company, whether you're really interested to join the company, or is it just some random interview which you have just attending? Okay, they want to look at the seriousness, okay, of they want to look at your interest and your seriousness. You should listen to the interviewer and do not interrupt. So when the questions start coming, please listen, then give your answers. Do not interrupt. Interruption kind of, it kind of goes off. Okay, so he also, the interviewer also won't like it and you will also get, kind of muddled and get confused. Do not interrupt. If you want to say something, jot it down and ask when it's your turn to speak. Okay, I'm sure you'd be getting plenty of doubts you need to clarify. Jot it down. And once your turn comes, when you have to speak, ask all the questions, inquiries, ask all the clarifications which you need. So those are the skills which are required for a telephonic interview. After the telephonic interviews, probably after several rounds of telephonic interviews, if you're called for a face-to-face interview, if they are very much impressed with you, they will definitely call you for a face-to-face interview. Now, what are the guidelines, skills which are required to face an interview directly, like, for a face-to-face interview? So, the first impressions are the best impressions. So let's begin with the dress code. So let's look at the dress code. Look your best in a simple and elegant dress for women. Okay. So try to be simple. Okay, try to look elegant. Formal dress for women, formal dress in light shades. I guess saris would be preferable or salwars would be preferable. Formal dress, light shades, white shades. Avoid fashion accessories. Don't wear too much of makeup or too much of fashion accessories, it definitely won't look good, okay, when you're going to a interview. Avoid all this wedding attire kind of things. Avoid strong perfumes. So don't put on very strong perfumes. The interviewer or the panel of interviewers may not like it. Trim your nails, groom your hair well. For men, formal wear, white or light colored shades you can wear, shoes to be polished, clothes to be neat, shave, and cut your hair short. So this is the part regarding your dress code. All right. So you're all ready with to make an impression. Now you have to reach the location. Be at your destination at least 15 minutes before the scheduled time. What's another important thing? Be at the location half an hour early or 15 minutes prior to the interview time. Call and inform if you're delayed due to unforeseen circumstances. Please call up, and in case you get delayed due to some circumstances, please call up and tell them that you're going to be delayed by 15 minutes or half an hour, so that they can make some alternate arrangements. You can't keep them waiting. And one good thing, like how to reach on time, is find out about travel time. Ideally, do a trial run before the interview date. So just 2 or 3 days prior the interview date, check the travel time. Do a trial run. Go from your home to the location and see how much time is required. So if it's a half an hour or a 40 minutes journey, you can leave at 9 and reach there by 9:30, 9:40, which, if the interview starts at 10, you're right there on time. Greet the interviewer with their full name along with Mr. or Miss. So you have to, once you enter the interview chamber, you have to greet the interviewer with your name using Mr. or Miss. Before entering the room, Miss Ramya Sen, Miss Ramya Dikshit. How do you get to know the name? Before entering the room, go to the front desk, okay? Find out who is the interviewer who's sitting inside the room, find out the name, and that's how you get to know the name. And once you enter the chamber, you can greet the interviewer, or if there are many members sitting there, you can just say, "Good morning, everybody." And then you go and give a handshake to each one. Eye contact with the interviewer at all times. Lean slightly forward and face the person asking questions. Body language, gestures, facial expressions, tone, all play a crucial role. So this is another skill set which you need to really, learn. Body language. Body language is the most important. Students, once you enter the gate of the company, once you enter the campus, right from the time you enter the campus until you leave the campus, everybody is watching. They are going to watch you. What's your body language? How is your behavior? How are you communicating? Okay, so you have to be on alert, always vigilant. So body language is very important. Be confident, sit straight, greet everybody. Okay. Gestures. Don't keep fidgeting with your fingers. Don't look at the walls, at the floor. Don't let your eyes dart from here till, from the side, that side. When the person is speaking to you, please maintain eye contact. And whoever is asking, lean slightly towards them and speak. Tone is also very, very important. You can't speak too loud. You can't speak too soft. Let it be at an even tone so that, they can hear your voice clearly. Let it be very clear. There should be clarity in your tone. Facial expressions are also very, very important. They'll be observing you. Take a copy of the resume, pen, and stationery. You can't say, I've sent my resume, and so I don't need to take my resume. Please, you have to take your resume, a copy, then whatever stationery is necessary. Show your enthusiasm about joining the company. You have to be enthusiastic. They are watching that. Okay, it's on your face. Be enthusiastic, even in your answers, even in your posture. Always be positive while answering. So show only the positivity, okay, of your side. Show only the positive side. Be positive while answering any kind of questions. Never lie to the interviewer. The moment you lie, you're caught. Be honest, truthful throughout the interview. The interviewers are experts in finding out if you are faking or if you are talking real, if you are a straight person or not. Never argue with the interviewer. Another important point to be noted, don't argue. I'm sure they try to ask questions which might provoke you, which might be against your ideals, but don't argue. Convince them in a polite manner. They are doing this just to test your stress levels. Be patient, and in case you want to disagree, do so in a polite way, in a positive way. When the interviewer asks you, tell me about yourself, this is usually the question, a common question which is asked. Tell me about yourself. How are you going to answer this? You can say about your background, family background, your education, your personal achievements, your professional achievements, and work experience if you have any. Stress on your achievements. If you're a fresher in case, speak on the role you played in college. So we are talking to students, and students, you'll be freshers. So once you go to face an interview, you can talk about you wouldn't have had any work experience. So you can talk about your achievements in schools and colleges, the kind of role which you played. It could be academic activities, it could be co-curricular activities, okay, it could be sports, it could be NSS, NCC. Okay, you can always say, I was very good at event management in school and in college. I participated in sports. I'm a very good cricket player. I'm a good swimmer. I'm a national swimming champion. So these are some of the achievements which you can mention. You can share your strengths and weaknesses carefully. So these are also questions which will come, again, common job related questions. So when they're asking you, you can share your strengths, you can share your weaknesses. Weaknesses, try to avoid. Don't tell all your weaknesses. And in case you do mention, give a positive slant to it. Answer questions by speaking in terms of the position you have applied for. So whatever kind of questions is being asked, try to give answers related to the position you have applied for. And also stress on what role you can play in the company, what an asset you can be to the company. Listen carefully and then answer. So questions keep coming at you. Listen. Don't rush your answers even before the question is completed, because good listening always helps. You have to be a good listener. So many times you may get hints, you may get clues in the questions which are being asked, and you'll be able to answer better. Speak carefully. It shouldn't be too loud or too soft. Ask relevant and focused questions to learn more about the company and career opportunities with the company. And when they ask you to ask questions, to do inquiries, clarifications, so ask relevant questions. And career opportunities, what kind of career opportunities you're going to have if you join the company. So when you ask such questions, it proves to the employer that you're really interested to join the company. So these are the skill sets which are essential for a person who is going to have a face-to-face interview. After the interview, what? Concluding the interview. So everything went fine. You thoroughly did a very good job. They asked questions, you were able to answer very well. And then you have to leave the interview chamber. How do you behave? I've told you, they'll be watching you. Okay, so they watch you, how you behave, how you communicate. Okay, so there are certain principles of etiquette to follow once you come to the end of the interview. What are these principles of etiquette? So once the interview is done, shake hands confidently. So you please shake hands with all. If it's one, fine. If it's a panel of members, please shake hands with everybody. Keep the chair back in its original place without a sound. You just can't get up and go leaving the chair wherever it was. You have to get up, push the chair back in its original place. Don't, make a screeching noise. Put it quietly without a sound. Push it without a sound. Close the door softly while leaving the room. And then you thank them, and then you're going out of the room. Once you go out of the room, you have to close the door softly. Just don't walk out. I'm sure many times, it happens to everybody. You just want to leave the room, okay, because you're all tensed up, and you just finished it. You just want to do away with it. So you just walk out, rush out of the room. Don't do that. You go out of the door, close the door. Do not meet people who try to inquire about the result. And I'm sure as soon as you go out of the room, there are many who come near you to ask, okay, how was the interview? What kind of questions? How did it go? So what you can do is don't encourage, don't discourage them. So you can just tell them it's fine, and you will also do fine, no worries at all. You can just say that so that, they also settle down and they don't get discouraged. So whatever the outcome, the interviews help you to gain experience. So whatever, you may be selected, you may not be selected. After all this, face-to-face interview, you may be selected, you may not be selected. Don't worry about it. What is important is you have gained experience, and it's going to be an addition to your knowledge base. So I spoke to you about the kind of skills which are required, okay, when you have to face a telephonic interview or a face-to-face interview. So that's done fine. During the interview, we also need to know, okay, it's very important for you all to know some of the common job-related questions which are thrown at you during the interview. So these are all, I have given a few sample questions. I'm not saying that, these are the questions which are going to be asked, okay? They may ask n number of questions related to the position you have applied for, related to the course which you have completed. They can ask any number of technical questions to test your technical skills. They may ask many with, other troubleshooting questions as well. Okay. So I've just mentioned a few sample questions. So let me run through this. Common job related questions. So the first would be introduce yourself, or they may tell you, tell me something about yourself, or run me through your CV. Usually, this is the first question which you encounter. So what do? You talk about your family background, your education, your personal achievements, your professional achievements, work experience, if any. So you can just say, family background, you can say, I'm from Mysore, or, I grew up in Mysore. I did my schooling, my education in Mysore College from Mysore University. I have a graduation in BCom, BA, BBA, okay, BSc, and have scored about 70% aggregate in my undergraduate. And then you can talk about, how good you were in your school and college, what personal achievements you can start telling them. I was very good at, managing events in the college. I was a very good team leader. You can say that sports, if you're good at sports, if you have participated in NSS, NCC, you can also mention that. Scouts, guides, please mention that. That's very, very important. You can also mention your cultural activities. You can say that I was very good at debating, okay, essay writing. I've got good writing skills, speaking skills. So all this can be mentioned when they ask, introduce yourself. Tell me something about yourself. And these questions which are asked, let me tell you, the interviewer has an agenda, okay, to ask these questions. He wants to know whether your communication skills are good or not. Where were you educated? This is a kind of question just to verify what you have given in the resume. Is it the same as what is going to come out, in the interview chamber? They just want to verify. What are your strengths? They're going to ask, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And you have to be confident and tell them about your strengths. Okay, don't feel shy. Don't think that, will it be like I'm boasting? Don't do that. They're asking, so you can just talk about it. You can say, I have good leadership skills. What are your strengths? I have good interpersonal skills. I'm very good at time management. I'm a hard worker. That's very important. As a person, okay, you can say, I'm a hard worker. I'm honest, sincere. I work well under pressure. I don't shirk responsibilities. So all these are your strengths. What are your weaknesses, they may ask. So don't say, I don't have any weaknesses. We all have weaknesses and strengths. So you can just, all these questions, you need to be prepared at home. Okay, you can't think there and answer. So what are your weaknesses? You should know. So you can say, I can't say no. Okay, sometimes, some of us, whatever is asked, we say, okay, yes, I will do. Sometimes it becomes a burden and you can't take that. Especially when you're working in a company, you just have to assert yourself, put your foot down and say, I have a project already. So once I complete the project, I will take the next one. So you should learn to say no. And you have to tell that, okay, you say, I can't say no, but I'll definitely try to improvise myself. I'll definitely try to assert myself. Or I lose my temper easily. Some of us are like that. I'm weak in communication skills. So all these weaknesses give a positive slant to it. You can say, I'll try to improvise myself. The next question probably would be, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? So you can always say, for the next 5 years, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to achieve whatever I had in mind. Okay, I will gain experience. I'll take on responsibility, and I will try to be in that managerial position. I would like to become a project manager. I would like to become a deputy manager, whatever it is. Okay, you have to have your goals set, short term or long term. And this is a question asked just to find out if you're committed, okay, to the job you have applied for, whether you're going to stay there for 5 years. You know, these days people just come, they join, and they leave and go. So they have to be very, very sure that you're going to be there. What do you know about our company? Another question would be, what do you know about, where do you see yourself? Another answer could be, within 5 years, I'll try to take this company to be the best in the state. 10 years, I would like it to be the best in the country. Okay, so with branches all over the world. This is how you can give an answer. What do you know about our company? So this is another question which they are going to ask. So you can always give a reply saying that because you have good marketing strategies, you should have found out. Okay, I'm just giving these answers just, like that. Or because of the excellent service you provide, or because of the good clientele you have. Okay, because of the vision and the mission of your company, I'm very much impressed by that. Okay, so these are, the questions, common job related questions. And I told you they can ask any question, n number of questions. Please be prepared. They'll be asking for the technical skills. They'll be asking separately technical questions. They may keep 45 to 50 minutes for 45 to 50 minutes for technical interviews. They may have technical interviews first, and then they may call you for a regular interview. Technical questions would be like problem solving, data analysis, computing languages. They can ask you anything. They're just trying to test your skills in the technical part. That would be for the courses like, science, commerce, IT, etc. Now let's look at, so we finished with the kind of questions which they ask. Now after the, when they come to the end of the interview, they may tell you, do you have any questions? So some of the questions which you can ask the interviewer, don't say, I don't have any questions, okay? You have to, because I'm sure you will have a lot of doubts, okay, by the end of the interview. So you can ask a few questions. Some of the sample questions run like this. What is a typical week like in the company? So you would like to know, you would like to know the work culture. Okay, so you can just ask, how do you work? Okay, a typical week or a typical day in the company. What is the work culture in the department? So probably they will, so that you get to know the kind of environment you're going to be in. You have to work in, you need to know. Okay, so probably they'll tell you about the timings and, the breaks and what they do, and, which is, kind of, yeah. So all this, they'll definitely give an explanation to you. You can ask, what are the challenges I would face during the first 6 months in this position? So they may say, you can ask, I'll join the company, fine. So definitely new challenges will crop up. So you can just ask them, what kind of challenges will I encounter? How have your past employees been successful in this position? So you can also ask about, the success rate. Okay, people who have, who were in that position, which you have applied for right now, how successful have they been? Okay, so where have they reached? So you want to know about that, you can definitely ask them about that. So Let me also tell you about, the kind of, I wanted to give you many examples for interviews, but I'll just tell about this one, which is quite interesting. The kind of questions which are thrown at you during an interview. So you're called for an interview, and sorry, my student was called for an interview. Just this happened last month. This is just an event which I'm going to tell you. My student was called for an interview, and she's actually a student of psychology, sociology, and economics. And so she attended the interview. The questions were asked regarding the subject, and it was fine. She answered everything. And the last uh, troubleshooting question was, they do ask troubleshooting questions. I think I did mention to you about that. Technical questions, sometimes troubleshooting questions are asked. Why? They are not looking for the right answers or the wrong answers. They want to see how you can think smart and how you can give a smart reply. They are looking at your thought process. They are looking at your reasoning ability, at your thinking ability. So one question which was thrown out to my student was thrown at, how many saloons are there in Bangalore city? So definitely my student hadn't expected such a question. So, but she's a smart student. She thought smart and she gave a smart reply. She said around 4,000. Now, they're not bothered about the number. Nobody knows how many saloons, spas. So how many spas are there in Bangalore city? Who knows? We don't know. But you just give an answer. So they know that your thinking, is working. Okay, it's not gone blank. So think smart, reply smart. Whatever kind of questions are thrown at you. Now let's come to the conclusion of this lecture. I'm trying to conclude here. So all this, the skills which I spoke of now, okay, the skill sets which you require to face an interview, it's more like theoretical learning. I just told you about it. Okay, you have to learn, you have to comprehend and learn and develop these skills to face the interview. Interviews are better understood as a practical learning process. So whatever theory we've been teaching you, it's actually a part of the syllabus of Bangalore University, and almost all universities will have, a component of interview skills. This is all theory. When does it help you? When you attend job melas, job fairs, mock interviews. If colleges can conduct mock interviews and you sit, okay, and attend these interviews, definitely you will get, practical knowledge about the process of what's going to happen, during interviews. This will definitely help you also to do better. So what's important finally when you have to face an interview? With the proper skill set, with confidence, high confidence levels, I'm sure we'll all be capable of facing interviews and coming victorious out of the interview chamber. So with this, I come to the end of my lecture. I've tried to share a little bit of knowledge with you all. I hope this benefits the students. Thank you. Thank you all. Now I'm open for questions.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll stop. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Chaitana. It was
Thank
really
you.
a very, very enriching session.
Okay.
You have given all the insights, how they have got to perform in the interview, and what are the preparations that a candidate has got to do before he faces the interview. Now, some of the questions which we can take here are, Harsha asks, if two interviewers ask a question at a time, who should we choose?
Okay, I'm sure they can't ask simultaneously.
Fine, yes,
So even
yes.
if they ask, yeah, so one interviewer will definitely say, you can ask sir first, and then, uh, he will sit, and then he will get the chance to ask. Definitely two questions thrown at you, you won't be able to answer. But even in case you get through two questions at the same time, you choose the one which is easy for you, which you know the answer for. So you look at that interviewer and you answer that. And you can also say, sir, I'll answer your question next. And then you answer which you know thoroughly. And then you move on to the next question. By then, you would have thought about the answer for that also.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
exactly. What they have to keep in mind is they should not get confused or panicked.
Yes, yes.
They should, yes, they should show that they are very well balanced. This is
Yes.
what will be should be taken care of.
Yes, yes. They're watching you. So you have to be
Yes.
very careful. Yeah.
Uh, and another question asked by Vidyashri is, if the interviewers ask, why should we hire you?
Okay, that's a very common. Yeah, probably I didn't mention that. I don't know.
No, you have actually mentioned it. You told
Yes, yes.
that
Yeah, yeah.
how you would.
Yeah, the strengths, yes. Why should we hire you? You can always say, talk about your strengths. Okay, you can say that I've been trained in these skills. Okay, in all these skills, which are very, very important for the position which I've applied for. Okay, I'm good at. It depends upon the position also which you've applied for. It could be an NGO, it could be a company, it could be a bank, it could be an institution. So you can say whatever, you should know your strengths. So when you speak about your strengths and also talk about a unique talent which you have and which the others don't have, you should know to attend the interview. So you can see I'm very good at leadership skills. I'm very good at time management. And I can take the responsibility of two people. I'm a hard worker. I don't shirk responsibilities. I don't mind working overtime, and I'll try to give the best. And I'll definitely take the company one step forward within a year or 2 years. Okay, so you have to talk about your strengths and convince them that you're so good in these skills that it's good, beneficial for them if they hire you.
Okay. Now there is another question where the
Yeah.
participant asks, what answer should be given if they ask about what is your expectation, how much salary do you expect, etc.
Okay, yeah, they definitely. I think that's one question which they will ask you. So you can, if you have previous work experience, you can just say, in that company, I was getting so much. Okay, 10K, 20K, so that they will realize that you're asking for a hike. Okay, more than that. But since you're a fresher and you don't know, but you would have to have done your research and know what's a beginner going to get. So you can always say that, since I'm a beginner, whatever is given for a beginner, I think I would be happy to, get a beginner's salary, whatever you've been giving for, the person who was in this, who is previous, okay, people who have worked in that position, whatever was given to them, you can give the same to me.
Yes.
You can't ask for more. Yeah. So you will know how much they are giving. You can just say that. As a beginner, how much I should be getting? I expect that much.
Yes. Yes. That was a very convincing answer, Professor
Hope
Chetana.
so. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. A
So,
lot of appreciation
oh, thank you.
about the session we are receiving. They have said that it was very informative session. It was very good. It would be very, very useful, especially for the students, final year students,
Yes,
especially
yes.
because
You are
they'll
going
be
to.
facing
Mm.
interview very shortly.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
thank you. Thank you so
Thank.
much, Professor Chaitana. On
Yeah.
behalf of
Thank.
our management members, Chief Executive for Academics and Administration,
Okay.
Principal,
Okay.
faculty members, and students from V.V.N, I extend a heartfelt gratitude to you for accepting our invitation and being part of this national level student development program. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Prasanna. Thank you, V.V.N Degree College Principal and Management. And thank you, dear students. Thank you all.
Now, participants, we have with us a professor from Kerala State, to whom, on behalf of our management, Chief Executive of Academics and Administration, Principal, and the faculty members, I extend a hearty welcome.
Thank you.
Professor Dr. Anne Angeline Abraham from Bishop Moore College, Mavilkara, Kerala State, is an associate professor, HOD of English, with a teaching experience of 25 years. Dr. Anne Angeline Abraham is research guide in English at University of Kerala. She has completed one minor project sanctioned by the UGC, that is University Grant Commission, Government of India. Professor Dr. Anne is an effective organizer with skills in organization, planning, and documentation. Comparing various events for 25 years, and she has coordinated programs that impact the academic arena and society. She has attended many international conferences on managing diversity in the era of globalization, culture, environment, tourism in Canada and India. International Ecological Conference on the impact of climate change on food security. She has also attended 12th International Mellow Conference. Madam has published her articles in international and national level peer-reviewed journals. Professor Anne Angeline Abraham is life member of OUCIP Hyderabad. She is a member of LTI India and member of IATEFL of United Kingdom. Professor Anne Abraham is well-known trainer in soft skills, excellent coordinator in event management, designer of aptitude and value development, facilitator for remedial coaching, student mentor, coordinator of co-curricular activities, resource person for English language skills in faculty development programs. She also has the credit of being interview panel member for various campus skill identification recruitments. She is a member of selection committees for faculty recruitment. She is a member of Academic Board of Studies in English. She is convener and member in committees related to publication, counseling, and research. She is also member in bodies to monitor quality assurance and accreditation. She is resource person and jury in national level programs and competitions. She is resource person in national workshops, state level selection bodies. Professor Anne has traveled extensively throughout India, England, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Nepal, and Singapore. Apart from music and reading, Professor Dr. Anne Angeline Abraham's interest is comparing, which has connected us to her. The next 1 hour, 15 minutes, Professor Anne will keep us engaged in learning the art of anchoring or the art of comparing. Over to Professor Dr. Anne Abraham Angeline.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Prasanna ma'am, for your words of introduction and for giving me this opportunity for giving a lecture today in this online certificate course on effective English language development by the V.V.N College English Department. So I thank the principal, the management, and everyone else there. I would like to bring greetings from Kerala, from my own department, the Department of English, Vishamur College, Mavelikira. And at the very outset, dear students, I know that after a very effective session, you might be a little bored. So I'll try to make it as short and as quick as possible and as interesting as I can for you. And this is primarily to aid you in comparing events in your college. So I would be speaking from that perspective. So it's also a disclaimer for all other events and people out here. So let's talk about the art of comparing. I'll share the screen now for my.
Yes. You can make it full screen, madam.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not at full screen. Yes.
It is.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we start talking about that, let me just ask you, students. You all love music, don't you? So let's just talk about one or two terms of music. We know about the term solo. Solo is a performance that a person does on his own, unaccompanied. And there is the orchestra, which is a group of musicians coming together with different musical instruments, or they might be performing together in harmony. They might be singing along with that. And there is a conductor who in music is a person who conducts an orchestra. So conducting an orchestra is an art of directing a musical performance or a concert. So it keeps the orchestra together or a choir together and in time. So comparing is a lot like a conductor of a musical show. So that is the first definition that I would like to point out. Not the performer of a solo, but the conductor of an orchestra. I hope that is clear. And the next thing that we have to bear in mind is the compere is not the speaker nor the chief guest. And that is something that we have to remember as a compere. We are just there to conduct or to just direct everyone else. And a compere is the channel between the organizers and the event. I'll talk about that in the coming slides, but that is it, a channel between the organizers and the event that has to happen. And a compere is someone who can make or mar a program. That is a very favorite statement of mine because, you can mar a program or spoil a program, by just being confused or irritated or anxious, by making mistakes on and off. Or you can even make a program. You can do things in style and do it well, and that makes the program. So that is the first thing by way of introduction that I would like to say about who a compere is. And we have certain terms which are used differently, a compere or an anchor or a host. So that is something that we have to just check. By way of definition, a compere is a person who manages live on ground events. If you take the history of it, he was a person who prompted actors earlier on and later introduced the actors and then later on managed the show. That is how the compere happened. Anchor is a person who has complete control over the broadcasting of the news. So anchor is a person who controls the speed of a or a thing which controls or grips the bottom of a ship or controls the speed of a ship. News presenters can be called anchors. And host is a master of ceremonies who can be a moderator or an interviewer for a television or radio show. But nowadays, these terms are used interchangeably, though this is the ideal way of differentiating these terms, if you want to know that. Next, to think about who an event manager is and who a compere is. Is there any difference between the two? That is something that we have to think about. Both are necessary in an event and both complement each other. And it's on the day of the program that the compere becomes the event manager. But till then, it is the event manager that does everything. I hope I'm making myself clear. The event manager should manage all aspects of the program. But the compere is focusing on the program, event, or meeting for a particular day. An event manager manages everything outside the event, like invitation, publicity, registration, accommodation, thinking about the bouquet or the gifts, remuneration, refreshments, feedback form. Everything else is something that the event manager does. But the compere takes care of everything on the stage. In difference that you can think about when it comes to comparing. So both a compere and an event manager should complement each other, work together, but it is on the day that the compere takes charge and takes care of what is being done. I hope I've made myself clear on that point. Now let's look at some points. I have talked about 5 points that we have to ponder or think about when it comes to comparing. What are they is given here. The first one is, just a minute, planning. Planning, the bridge between the compere and the organizers. Preparation is the bridge between the compere and the audience. We'll come to all of this one by one, just for you to note it at this point. Program management, the program that happens on the day of the event. Problem solving to skillfully manage unexpected situations. Pitfalls, matters that a compere should bear in mind and also avoid. So just for interest's sake, I've made it the 5 P's. So planning, preparation, program management, problem solving, and pitfalls. Now let's take the first one, planning. Planning, there are 2 sessions there. The first one is planning with the organizers. So the first thing that a compere, when you are asked to compare a program, you ask questions. You ask questions, you think about the duration of the point. Before that, okay. We ask certain questions. I'll go to the other slide. What is the event that has to happen? Who will be attending? Where is the program? When is the program? Why are we having this program? How long is the event? So all the usual 5 W questions and 1 H question we ask the organizers. And then we think and talk about the duration of the program. From, is it a morning session, or is it from in the morning and in the afternoon? Do we have, again, anyone else comparing with us? That is very important, because if there are other people, we'll come to that. We have to give space to the other person who's comparing with us. So that is a very important thing. So are there others comparing with us, or are we doing the whole thing on our own? Then what are the languages that have to be used? It can be multilingual, it can be bilingual, or you use only one language. So according to the context, so that has to be cleared. And then what I meant by the tone is what is the session? If it is a sports event, or if it is an association inauguration, or if it is a solemn lecture. So whatever it is, the tone has to be changed accordingly. That is also an important thing. And then the position of the compere. Where is the compere supposed to sit or stand? That is one question that has to be raised. So accordingly, we have to place ourselves and think also in those terms. Because if you're sitting the way you sit, you should sit where you can see the audiovisual people and see the stage. So there are many things that we have to think about. So this is just an idea of where we have to sit. We ask about that and think about that. Then the line manager is a person to whom the compare should report to, most probably the coordinator of the program. This is very important because at times, there'll be many people coming up with suggestions and it might create a lot of confusion. So it's always best to tell the people who are asking you to make changes to report to the line manager or the person in control. It might be the head of the department, it might be the coordinator of the program. So whoever is it, you should be reporting to one person. That would be a better idea to avoid confusion. And then it's good to know about the profile of the guests. Who are the guests that are coming? It's very important because later on I'll talk about that too, because the whole program depends on the guests who are coming in. So if it is a person of a high rank, the whole comparing should be made differently. So we'll talk about that also. Then the audience, who are the audience are coming? Are the stakeholders coming, or is it just the students coming? What kind of people are coming? Are the parents coming in? So it's good, a compare should know all of this, because we need to direct, as I said, conduct the whole program. So we need to know who is coming, who is going to be on the stage, who will be leading the program, whom should I answer to. Very important. And then we should know the schedule of the program. That is also very important, because we should know the event, the time, and then the schedule. Because how do you start? How do you end? Is there a welcome? Is there a invocation before that? Where do you end? So all these things have to be asked. So asking questions are very important. When you think of it, where is the event? When is the event? Why are we having the event? Is it a jubilee function, or is it an association inauguration? Where is the program to be conducted? What has been done for it? So all these things we have to know. Maybe talk to the event manager, talk to the coordinator of the program, and get to know all of that. Very important to know. And then let's go to our own next idea of preparing. So what do? We have to get advanced information on everything. As I said, institution and event. Let me just take an example. If we are, talking about a silver jubilee of a college, so we have to get the history of the college, and get to know when it was started, who's the management, or who were in charge of it, what is the motto, things like that. And what is happening now? Is it a jubilee being inaugurated, or is it the valedictory function? Is a souvenir being released? So all this can be checked about the event. And once you know all of that, you have to write it down. Write down, take notes. That's very important. Write down the history of the college, or write down certain things. We can't talk about the whole history, so we'll have to summarize that. So it's better to write down. So homework, as I feel, is very important when it comes to being a good compare. You doing things on your own, preparing on your own is very important. It's very important. That's something that you do a day before the, or days before the event. So very important. You get, as I said earlier on, you get to know who the organizers are. Have they hired anyone to event manage the whole program, or are we doing it? Where is the venue? Is it the auditorium? Is it the seminar hall? Because you have to be able to give clear instructions regarding that. So that is also very important. And then, as I said, not only should you get the program schedule, you should have copies of it, because I've always found there's a last minute rush of getting copies to give to the different people on the days. You have to give the copies to the people on the stage. So it's better to have as many copies as you have. So once you know the schedule, you can give copies, and always remember to keep 1 or 2 copies with you, because there'll always be last minute questions to be asked, or differences to be written down. So it's good to have copies for yourself and for the people on stage, and maybe even more to give the audience. So that is one thing that you can do. And then there might be audio visual arrangement. So is there a screen for that? Or what kind of an audio visual arrangement is made? Does the speaker want that? So that connection has to be done, or the compare has to ask if arrangements have been done about that. And this is what I was talking on earlier on, the guest protocol. It depends on who the guest is. If I remember, for example, the governor of the state came in. So when the governor of the state comes in, there is a time schedule for each person. There is a protocol for a governor coming in, or a minister coming in, or even the prime minister or the president, anyone for that matter, the vice chancellor of a university coming in. So there is a protocol for that. And for that, then you need a time schedule. There will be an entourage coming with the VIP, the very special person coming in, and that entourage also should be placed well. The people who are accompanying, they'll be also high officials. So that is something that we have to be careful, and we have to be very careful of the time, according to the guest protocol, because we can't just say stories. Then will be time for that. So time for each person is important. And again, even if it's not a VIP, you can ask when the schedule is made, should we need a time for each person? Should we give a time? There's a tendency of crossing the time, and then the whole program might lag. So you can ask for the time of each person. Should we give that, or should we say that? That is one thing that will be. And the duration of the program, as I said earlier on, is it a forenoon program, or is there a tea break in between? All these things are good to know so that we can plan accordingly, because as I said, we are the ones who are conducting the program. So very important. So as I said, it is very important to prepare. And I would also say one more thing, that is what you're planning to wear, and how do you plan to conduct yourself. Dress modestly and well, and be ready with your own confidence. That is one thing that can be remembered. And then we come to the program management, the day of the event, or before the event. What do we do? Again, we should arrive as early as possible, and very much ahead of time, because a compare should never be late, because we are the ones who are going to start the program. So we can't afford to be late. So come a bit early. And it's always good to have the details of the organizers handy with you, so that you can call them if needed, check with them if everything is going on schedule, or has there been any last minute cancellations? Is the program on time? Any change of schedule, have the guests arrived? So it is always good to have the contact details of the organizers ready. And then it's good to know if there was someone to assist you, some volunteer to assist you, because you might not be able to move away from the place that you were once the program starts. So what would you do? So you ask and check if there is someone to assist you, to ask around. That might not be there, but most probably it would be you yourself going and checking around, but that is okay. Be ready for that too. And then check the program schedule, because again, there might be some last minute changes again, and we have to check on whether the people are ready. Just before it starts, I think when you check the program schedule, you can also check whether there is a change in a program, or if it is the first program is welcoming, or even invocation, a song. I think this program started off like that. So are the people ready for that? So that is very important to check. Then again, on the stage you can check also. You can check the light and sounds. It's not that you have to do it, but are they switched on? Is the mic ready? You can have a voice test before that. Sometimes a compare might not have a mic. You ask for it. This is certain things that happen. You overlook, but you can check and do that. But for that, you'll have to arrive well ahead of time. And then, as I said earlier on, you have to select the place where you stand or where you sit. You can either sit in the front row facing the, stage, because you'll have to see what is going on the stage. So it has to be in the vicinity of the stage anyhow, but you can sit downstairs, or you can sit in the wings, anywhere, but that has to be that you should be seen. And you have to see, whether you are not seen, you should see what is happening, because you are the one conducting the whole program. So select the place. Sometimes, I've always also found you might not have a podium. So you'll have all the papers, and you'll have to stand with a mic in one hand and the papers on the other. So the papers should not be clustered. They should be pinned together. These are many little things that, that happens most of the time. And then you'll be flustered. You don't know what to do. So I've faced all of that. So that's why I'm talking from my experience. So I haven't checked anywhere. I'm just telling you what I have found and found useful, and just passing it on to you. And then accessories, what is that? Pen, paper, I've always found a pen useful, because we'll have all the printouts and everything of the schedule ready, but at the last moment there might be changes. So you'll have to write it down, or you might forget, because it might happen at a later stage. So you should have your pen ready, a paper ready. Sometimes any person would ask for an extra pen. Then running about is not needed if the compare is ready with all of that. So that is needed. And then if it's a PowerPoint presentation, it's always good to have a laser pointer ready, because that is something with the battery on in, so that it will be always ready for the person who is presenting. So that is a very important accessory that you can remember. And then prepare the list of instructions for the audience. Now, what about that? Asking to, kind of switch off the mobile phones, or, keeping that in silent mode, or asking the audience to come down and sit, and then, asking them to, stand up when the guests arrive, or certain things which are minute details. But if you give instructions like that, it creates a lot of calm and, discipline for the event. So I believe that, instead of some people standing, some sitting, some, not knowing what to do. Should you stand for the invocation? Should you sit down before that? So all this would be in place. And when again, you can also think about, when I was talking about the accessories, if there are bouquets to be given, are the bouquets ready in the hall? Are they in the hall? That is something we can't run for that. Are the people ready for the bouquets? Is the gift ready? Then are water bottles ready for for the guests? And if there is a ceremony lamp which is lit, that always happens. The oil should be there, or person who has to light the lamp and give it, the matchstick should be ready. Little minute things which a compare has to do, and the compare should be able to direct people to do all these things. And that is one process. You give the lamp to the first person and the next person, or whoever is inaugurating the program. All these little things which if the compare does not overlook, the all the event would go on without any hassle. So I would always suggest to think of all of this. And then with the instructions, you can talk if there is a feedback, if there is a registration to be done. It's a compare who talks about all of that. So it's always good to be in check with the people at the registration desk, or people who are in charge of the event managers as such. So all of that. So as I said, a compare stands in between, and the program that day should be smoothly run, and that I believe is with the efficiency of the compare that is there. So I believe in that, and that is all of this has to be done just before the event and arriving ahead on time. And then what happens during the event? Now that is one thing that we have to think. What happens during the event? As I said, keep the program schedules with you, keep it ready, keep it handy, give it to the people on the days. And then I've written this: have a coordination with the people managing the audiovisual systems, because they might be there, but you have to give them instructions. So it would be good if you can do it before that, but even during the event, if the mic is not working or the sound is too high, you can tell them or give gestures. And again, set the tone of the event as such. And then again, giving general instructions to the audience, have them seated, or make them stand for the prayer, and then making them sit down. So if instructions like that, which are most of the time overlooked, if that can be given, there'll be a general discipline to the program. And then if possible, start on time. That is very important. But well, it depends on the guests arriving, and again, the audio visual systems working in time. So it's always good if you can get the what do you say, the USB of the speaker, and see whether it works on our audio visual system. So all that can be done. I think the program can start on time. And if there is a delay, it would be always good to inform the audience. Maybe not talk about the whole thing, but tell them that there is a delay, and and in between you can say a few words. Keep some of the history ready, and you can put in your snippets. You can hand in things and talk about it, which is relevant to the program of the day. And then start confidently with a smile. You might be jittery, you might not be familiar with what you're doing. Maybe it's the first time, but start with a smile, and that smile increases your confidence. And I think that will help you. And then uh, one more thing that you can do is when the guests are arriving, you can inform the audience that the guests are arriving, so they'll also be ready and waiting for the guest to arrive. That is a very important time when it comes to comparing. Keeping the audience ready and waiting for the guests to arrive, and asking them to stand when the guests are arriving, and asking the guest onto the day is very important. Again, the pronunciation days than dais, stage. Okay, so asking them onto the days is very important. And then waiting for the guests to be seated, and then sitting down and pause for a moment, wait for the cue to start. There might be a presiding person there, and then you can commence the program confidently with a smile, with confidence. You say a few words about the program. You don't give a speech again. In one or two sentences, you might say what the program is about, all about, and set the stage, and then you start talking about. So that is something that you do during the first part of the event. And again, basically, once you start the program, the first thing maybe is the invocation or the prayer. Once that is done, welcoming the speaker onto the person who has to welcome the gathering onto the dais. And words like welcome the gathering, proposing the vote of thanks. Certain words is good that if the compare learns, it would be good. And you see, why I'm trying to say is, once you are in the hall, till the welcome speech the person who is talking or giving the welcome speech starts, you are on the go. You have to be nimble, you have to be agile, you have to be thinking on your toes. That is what is happening. So it's only when the welcome speech starts that you can take a break, maybe in your thought, or maybe relax. Till then, the compare, because it's the way you begin a program, that is what matters. So it is very important what you do. So, and again, you have to be alert all the time. That is very important. Be alert all the time, because compare can never be slack, never be inert, or think anything else, or relax, or daydream. We cannot do that. And a compare is always thinking ahead. What is the next item, or what happens next? That is, you have to think about it. Never leave the hall when the event is taking place. You can't. No, you can't do that. Keep the next item on the schedule ready in mind. You have to, what is it that is next going to happen? Thinking ahead is very important, and giving clear instructions regarding the minute details. As I said earlier, if it is the inauguration, whether the lamp is to be lighted before or after. If there is an award function going on, do you give the certificates first, or do you give the gifts first? All these are little things, but if you can be ready with that and be clear with that, we can conduct the program without any hazards. And always be prepared for interruptions. Interruptions can happen anyway. It can be with the audience, it can be outside the hall, it can be inside, and we'll come to more interruptions later on. We'll talk about that more, but be ready for that. And then be ready to incorporate changes. We have to be ready to do that. We should be able to make immediate decisions. Sometimes you might have to, act in a moment. I'll give you a small incident. What happened is, when once for a program of ours, all was said for the invocation. I announced that it was invocation. And then, at the time of the prayer, the people could not come on time. So the songs could not be sung. And since luckily I knew how to sing, so I did that. No one knew. But that is something I always remember as a highlight of my comparing experiences. But then you can always switch to, we'll have a silent prayer and sit down. So quick decisions, which are not very important, can be made by the compare. And all that happens without letting the audience know, And that is something that you can think of and be prepared. And then the close of the event, what happens? And again, that is also very important. This can be done according to the time available. Sometimes you have to play for time, because the refreshments are not ready. Sometimes, it might be very early, or sometimes it is very late. What do? You'll have to quickly. And so according to that, you have to close the event and then bring in a striking note of conclusion. If it is a farewell party, you can talk in one line. You don't give too many things. I've often found compares, they are, giving a speech about it. No, we can't do that. We are not the speakers there. So we give in a striking 1 or 2 sentences of farewell. Maybe we can bring in a striking note of conclusion. And then um, we should we say or disclose our identity or name? It's optional. You may or may not disclose your name and identity. Again, it depends on the time. And again, check if refreshments are available. Maybe you'll have to announce that. You can do that, or give it to the next committee who's doing that. Switch off the mic. That is one thing, after saying all this, we always do that. We forget that the mic is on or the audio visual aids are on, and we, tend to do things. I also did it this time. So it's important that we switch off mics and see to it that the guests are properly taken care of. I always find, guests after the program is done, the organizers might be, running around for a photo shoot or running about with the next thing, and the guest is left not doing what to do. So the compere can do one thing: take the guest and leave that guest to the organizers, being a gap there too. That is something that, and the gifts taken care of, or their, whatever is given to them, memento given to them to be taken to their car, and little things that which can be overlooked by others can be taken care of. This can be done by the committees that are there, but I'm just saying that in case different committees are not there for events, compere can do all of this. And again, we should also check whether there's a closure of the event, of whether there's a national anthem or not. You can talk. And then we come to almost the last part of it. Problem solving. Okay, are there problems? Now, what are the problems? As you can see, sudden changes, power failure. Power failure is something that is always very common, and so you need generators around. Think of all of that, inverters around. So AVs and guests not available. Sometimes the guest might not be able to come. You'll have to go for a new guest, and then you should know about the guest. Should you introduce the guest or not? All this comes in between. So it's better to ask and check. Disturbance from the audience. Maybe you'll have to, check that too and ask them, to be here and all of that. So those are problems. So how do you troubleshoot that? How do you give solutions to that? So be alert to the changes which are incorporated before the program, whatever changes, there will be many changes that that might come in. So this is again a very important aspect of the compare. Managing the event without any problem. There might be umpteen problems that would arise, but the audience need not know. You have to manage the audience. You should manage the program, and again, you should ensure least disturbance to the guests on the days. You'll have to manage all of that. So very important that you'll have to do. And again, you might remind the authorities regarding the changes, and that this has happened. Sometimes it is done according to the convenience, and the people on the stage might not know that they would be the next person who has to speak. So it's better to tell them also about the change. Again, if a guest has not come on time, you can pass it on to the next person, inform them. That is one way of doing it. And again, a mic change if needed. You might need to give your mic if needed. You can do that. Again, don't lose composure. That is one thing that compare should not do. You have to manage the event, whatever be it. You should have a plan B ready. So what happens? I was just thinking, if my net connection does not work, if my PowerPoint does not work, I have a plan B ready. So that is what you have to do, whether it be a lecture, whether it be comparing, whatever, you should have a plan B ready. You should have material ready, because I found people, whether it be comparing or speeches, anything, if the AV does not work, or if there is a power failure, people are at a loss. But I've seen people speaking on. I've seen compares doing their work in spite of all that. So that is something that happens with experience. So that is something. Ask for instructions if you are confused. You should ask and do accordingly. So that is one thing that we can do. And any technical glitches that you can have, internet connectivity issues, because that is now the thing of the day. You should let the audience be informed. They should know what is happening, and a compere can do that subtly and very cleverly, very happily. Keeping a positive note, you can say that and do that. Again, if you make any defects or mistakes, you can apologize. If there is any delay on the part of the organizers also, you can apologize. Or for any defects also, any inconvenience, be quick to apologize. That is one way of troubleshooting. And again, the no's of being a compare. What are the pitfalls that you have to avoid? This is one thing. This is, I think, one thing that the compare has to be remembering. Not to be seen, but to be heard. You might be seen because you're standing there or sitting there, but the point that I want to raise is that it's not your show. You have to be heard. You are the conductor. It is the people who are performing. They are the performing that they are the orchestra. They are the ones who are singing in harmony. They are the ones who are bringing in the music for the others to listen. So you are the conductor, the most important position, but you are only to be heard and not to be seen. That is one thing. What about a second compare? If there is a second compare, I've always found if there are two people, one might be better than the other, or one might take the upper hand, and there is a competition between the two. Please let not that happen. Let there be a healthy, sharing of responsibilities if there are two people around. Then you are a compare, not a speaker. That is one thing that you have to remember. A compare might know many things than the speaker. A compare might, be better off or knowledgeable. Whatever it is, you're not the speaker. So you're a compare. So limit your thoughts and your own opinions and don't look down on, not the venue to show your expertise. That is not it. When you go as a resource person, you can do that. When you go as a speaker, you can do that, but not when you're a compare. You cannot show your expertise. You just compare or you just conduct the show. That is it. And you should not use improper articulation or tone. You can't be bossy in your tone. You can't be imperative. Please stand up. You cannot say that. You can't be imperative in your tone. You can't be haughty in your tone. You can't shout. You can't be very short and slow. So that is this articulation that is very important when you are comparing. It's very important how you say and what you say, and with a smile on your face. You can't have improper articulation. And the wrong attitude. If sometimes you don't like what is happening, maybe the organizers have not come up well, so don't look down upon them. Your inconvenience does not matter when it comes to a program. You have to be around. Sometimes you might be blamed for unnecessarily. It might not be what you are doing. So yeah, I'll come to that in the next session. So sometimes you will have to take it. Your tone matters. You cannot sulk. That is the attitude. You cannot sulk for whatever it is. You might be scolded. It might be because of the the problems that the people are facing there, but the attitude, your attitude matters. It is very important how it is done. So that is very, very important. So these are certain things that you have to avoid. Now, coming to my experience, I would like to talk, as was said earlier on, 25 years and more of comparing. What is it? This is a platform of constant evaluation and evolution. What does it mean? You constantly evaluate yourself. Have you done well? What are the things that you have to improve? Oh, I did not do that correctly. Next time I should remember that. That constant evaluation, self-evaluation, is something that is very important when it comes to being a good compare. And evolution. You grow as a compare. The experiences that you have makes you, want to do better the next time. And as I said, when the governor came to the college, it was a new experience. It was a golden jubilee of a college. And then, everything was done very properly. And, there was inspections earlier on. The police had come in, and the compare was asked to check on everything. And the time was given. And I was specially asked to keep things on time, and the stage was checked, and where you sit was checked, the place for the entourage was checked, you were given passes, you had to come in early, even the audience was seated early. So all these little things, and every time the external people or the news people, they all come to the compare. So for that, again, you have to be ready with your schedule. The newspaper people would come, the TV people would come, or the all those people who are coming, you should have lots of copies ready with you. So all this is something that a compare should be very careful about. And then appreciate the feedback that you get. Some people would say that it was good, appreciate that. I remember getting a correction one from a senior colleague of mine on behalf of the non-teaching, something I said. So she told me that I'm not the non-teaching staff. So I have to say for the on you can talk on behalf of the teaching staff or something like that. So little corrections that are made would be remembered. And some have said that you've done a very good job. So appreciate the feedback and listen to constructive criticism and use that for your evolution as a compare, and be a good one for that. And then most of the time you are not thanked for your job. Overlook the fact that you're not being thanked. Most of the time I've been forgotten to be thanked, and it's okay, because that is it. You are taken for granted. Okay, Anne would do it, it's done. So you are taken for granted. But then uh, why is it? It is the confidence that they have in you. If you are given a job, you'll do it well. I've faced that many a time. So it is more work on us, but then the happiness and the satisfaction that we get of doing a job, that is what is most important. It's an honorary work most of the time, but it's a work that you can do with a lot of happiness. I've always enjoyed being a compare. That is something that makes me who I am. So it is something that is done well. And then you might have to take the brunt for the inefficiency of the organizers. I've been scolded many times by the people who've come in. I have had my senior retired professors coming in, and once upon a time everything was done well, and what is happening now? So they might come and they might scold you. You might have nothing to do with that, but you take it with a smile. That has happened to me many a time. And then I feel bad and irritated. But then I've come to learn that that is not it. They'll have to say it to someone, and you are approachable, and they say that. So you might have to take the brunt of all that at times. And then you'll have to sometimes step in and take quick decisions if needed, as I said earlier on. Sometimes you'll have to pitch in and do something, go forward, go the extra mile, and do things. Maybe it might not be in the purview of the compare, but you have to go the extra mile and do that, because in the end you want the institution or the event to be done well. It's not my job, so I'm not doing it. Does not work for a compare. I think that is one thing that you have to think about. And so always be ready to go the extra mile, I would say. And then the job might look very easy to others, but as I've been saying for almost an hour now, it is not easy. It has a lot of preparation, a lot of homework has to be done, a lot of things. And but when you come and stand there, you tend to make it look easy, but it is not at all an easy job. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of homework. You have to be alert. You have to be nimble. You'll have to be agile. You have to be alert in your mind. You'll have to be ready with snippets. If there are any, pauses in between, you should be ready. If there is a delay in speakers coming, you'll have to entertain the audience. But with the purview of the conference that is happening, or whatever event that is happening. So it's very important to have secondary material ready with you. Okay, so that is also very important. So a lot of time and effort is needed to it. The job is a very important job, and let me tell you, if you are good, your confidence helps. You can overlook them. Again, if you make, I've been asked, if you make small mistakes, ma'am, what would happen? You can overlook the little mistakes that you do. You're human beings, you can make mistakes. And you have to overlook the mistakes and go on to the next, because the show must continue. The event should continue. So you cannot dwell on what you've made mistakes. Say sorry and move on to the next thing. And your alertness, your pronunciation, your intonation, your attitude, all that matters. As I said, your pronunciation, your intonation, your attitude. If you are doing this with a positive attitude, again, the function, if it is a solemn function, you have to do it with all the solemnity in your voice. If it is a Thanksgiving service, gratitude. If it's a sports event, well, it should be jovial. If it is an association inauguration, things change. If you're interacting with a bunch of youngsters, it is a different way of doing it. If you are, doing it with people outside, if you're, that's why I said you have to know the audience. You have to know the speakers, you have to know the event, you have to know the institution. So you have to have a purview of all that when it comes to comparing. So that's why I said it takes a lot of time and effort. So the job looks easy, but it is not. But again, I would like to end by saying that if you are good, you will be asked to do this again and again. So I think that is the best feedback and the best reward that you can get if you're asked to do this job of comparing again and again. So with that, I would welcome you to the art and experience of comparing. Thank you. Over to Prasanna now.
Thank you, madam. You have given every detail, minute detail of the art of comparing. Now, there is a question from some of the participants. They want you to repeat the difference between comparing, anchoring, and being the host.
Okay.
You actually had touched upon it.
I said that quickly. I would say that again. A comparing is a person, or a compare is a person who manages live on ground events. So any program that is happening, after the event management sets the space, on the day of the program, you have to be there early and you are doing it live. It's a live thing. You can't record being a compare. So it's a ground event. The event is happening and you are speaking live. So that is the most challenging part of being a compare. You can't, you can plan things, but at the last moment, it might not be happening. So you can write down things and everything, but you might have to use your own words. You have to use, that's why I said you can use small words like proposing the vote of thanks, say, rendering the vote of thanks, or welcoming the gathering. All these words can be remembered. So a compare is a person who manages live on ground events. An anchor is a person, the word anchor on a ship, it controls the speed of a ship, it grips the bottom of a ship. You say you put the anchor down. Okay, so news presenters can be called as anchors because they're broadcasting the news. So that is one thing that you're controlling the complete broadcast. So that is not happening for a compare. In a news program it can happen. In an entertainment program you can be say you're anchoring the whole thing. But compare is one who manages live any event, managing the show that is happening and all that is happening in between the people on the stage and the audience. That is what is happening on the day of the event, I would say. And host would be a master of ceremonies who can be a moderator or an interviewer for maybe a television or a radio show. You can be a moderator or you can interview. A compare does not interview anyone. You can't interview anyone, or you can't moderate a session. There'll be other people. You can only ask the moderator to moderate it. So that is it. That is the ideal usage. So once again, I'll say a compare is a person who manages live on ground events. An anchor is a person who has complete control of the broadcasting of the news. And a host is a master of ceremonies who can be a moderator or an interviewer. But again, these days it has been used interchangeably. Today it is being used, but comparing would be the best term to be used for a person who's conducting the whole program.
Okay. Now, what about the... Clear. Yes,
yeah.
It's very clear. What about the tone that they have got to use? Is it different for the anchorer and comparer?
The tone. It depends. I think it depends upon the event. See, an anchor, we are always talking about TV shows or something. An anchor would be, encouraging a participant to sing or the audience to clap, and entertainment happens. So, but for a compare, it is the program that is being taken care of. And again, I said, when you are in a sports event, a compare can, encourage the runners, by saying up, or something like that, encouraging the event that is happening. But if it's a solemn event, well, take, for example, a Thanksgiving, where there's prayer and invocation, you can't, kind of encourage the audience to be jovial. So there the tone is set in a solemn way. But if it is, for that matter, it's an award ceremony for the students, And you can sometimes, from what I see, our students might be very hesitant to clap. So you can encourage the students to clap. Come on, why don't you give a whole round of applause for your friends who are on stage? So that would initiate the experience. So I think that is what I was meaning about the tone. The tone that you sets the, kind of the event. So you have to know whether it is a happy program, a jovial program, or whether it is, in a conference, it is more of a solemn program. You don't, clap hands or, I'm talking from our Indian perspective, I would say, we set the tone. When the VC comes in, you are not, clapping and, making a whole, there is a solemnity to the whole thing. So that is what I meant by the tone. And again, the tone variation. I would say the energy that you have, a compere should have a lot of energy, because the energy that you have is radiated to the audience and to the speakers. It's very important. So that is how the tone is set, I believe. And the compere can, as I said, spoil the program or make a program.
Yes, that was very, very important how you started it, emphasizing the important role of the comparer. Now, could you please guide the participant, giving some tips how they can equip certain style, the tone?
Yeah, I think one thing you can do is increase your vocabulary, because if you take a special, I think a program, what do we usually have? We have an invocation or a prayer. So again, and then you say so invocation is another term you use for prayer. So invocation, or you can say, I would now call upon the so and so madam to welcome the gathering. I can call upon, I request, I would like to invite. Certain different words can be used, and that brings in a variety. Do you get my point? I welcome the gathering, or I would like to invite on behalf of the teaching staff, or on behalf of the students, so and so would speak now. I call upon, I invite, I request you to. And then again, one thing which I forgot to say, you have to remember the designation of the person who is talking. That is very important, which I forgot to say. If it is the principal of the college, you give the name of the college of your sir. It's Venugopal sir, right, of your college? Yeah. So you say Professor Venugopal, and you give the idea that he's the principal of the college. A compere has to do that. So if I am talking about Prasanna ma'am, I'll say Professor Prasanna, who is the coordinator of today's program and the coordinator of the IQC. So the designation also matters. So a compere should know that. It might not be there in the program schedule. So that is also very important, a fact that I overlooked to say. It's very important. And again, when it comes to a program, the people who are, again, to talk about felicitations, those who have to say the felicitations, they might be, selected for a particular people. Maybe it is part of the non-teaching staff or the teaching staff or part of a committee. So that in which role are they doing this has to be taught, or has to be informed to the audience. So that is also very important. So using this, so that is one thing that you have to remember. So if it is not there, compere should ask that. So most probably it will not be there in the program, but it is always a kind of respecting that person and letting us know why that person is speaking forever. So because there might be someone else who can also speak and do better. So because that person is the secretary of that particular thing, they can speak. So that designation is also important. And these words. And again, one more thing which I forgot to say, that you should always say thank you to the person who's just finished. Okay, in a sentence, say thank you to the person who's just finished, and let that person sit down. Or if there is a clapping of hands, wait for the applause to finish off, and then start off, call upon the next person to give their speech. And there is who is the presiding over the function, very important, presidential address. It might be the principal of the college or anyone. So who is doing that? What is the inaugural address? So different felicitations. On what? Felicitation is giving your good wishes. So what about that? And again, one more thing I think the compere can check which I always do, is the spelling on the program schedule. Every time the spellings can go wrong. So being a good editor is also one thing a compare can do. But I'm sure teachers might do that. But again, students can also, we can always overlook, and make spelling mistakes. So it's always good to have a double check, because when we give a program to another person or to the guest, we are projecting our college, whatever we are representing. We are a representative of our institution. I believe that is who a compare is. And so we keep aside our own identity or individuality, and we are there as an ambassador of the college or the institution that we are part of. I always believe that. So we keep that in mind. So we keep our personal preferences aside, and whatever we are doing it for the benefit of the institution and for the event that we're doing. That's why I said go the extra mile. It might not be under the, see, all this I said, you can say that, okay, this is not something that a compare should do. This belongs to the invitation committee. This belongs to the publication committee. This belongs to the event manager. Fine, it's all true. We might have different sets of people around, but sometimes someone has to coordinate it and bring it all together. And on the day, it is the compare who does that. I believe it is the most important role of a program. And I believe that from the heart, because I've seen that happening. You can make a program well. Your enthusiasm falls to, or it's just conveyed to the audience, and that is what I meant by tone and all this what we are saying. I believe that is very true. And and the confidence that we have, and it increases time and time. You can make mistakes, that is also, after all these years, you can make mistakes. You might not know how to start, so maybe you'll have to practice on that. How do you end? You don't know. And you can even say the meeting is over. That is something a compare can say, because people would be wondering, is it over? Do we have to stand here? Do we have to do anything more? So it's always good. So these are little things that I think students can remember, and assist your teachers maybe in that, by telling them, or in reminding them. Again, if there's a photo shoot, asking them to stand, telling all this through the mic, and you become an announcer also towards the end of the program. So yeah, I think that's what comes to my mind at the moment. Yeah. Anything else?
Very good tips. No, that's true.
Okay.
First thing what they have to do is improve their language, and mainly vocabulary. Yeah. That is through reading, through speaking and all, they can improve their language. Their vocabulary is very, very important. You also said that they should be prepared for interruptions.
Yes, a lot of it can happen. Interruptions can happen in many ways. Yeah, very unexpected. Sometimes the people will not, if you're coming by train, or you might not be able to come on time, what would happen? So another person should be ready, or we should be ready to do something in between. I've talked about this, how I had to, it was an international conference. I had to pitch in. So that can happen. Sometimes you'll have to, push students to, give a prize, because it has. I've always found, sitting even on the stage, I've seen the person who has to give the vote of thanks is not there inside the hall. So you think ahead. That's why I said you think ahead. Maybe the head of the department or the principal might not notice that. It is a compe's job. Are they there? Or, find out from another person and bring the person in. So all these things
all
quickly
you have to make.
Yes.
At times, maybe he has to shift his responsibility as an organizer, comparer,
exactly.
like that.
Yeah, jack of all trades, but being master of none at the point of time, because you'll have to put on all the shoes. That's what I said, go the extra mile and do everything, but maybe it's not your responsibility. You can say that, but then you do it. Again, once many a times on the stage, I found the gifts of the speakers there, because they might not take it. Who's going to do that? So all those little things, reminding and doing that, and making all feel comfortable, and then talking to the people there. So I think it continues. The job continues. You have to be an all-rounder. And that is exactly why I pointed out being a conductor. You're conducting the whole thing, but you are no one. I've always felt you're no one there, because you're not the principal, you're not the head of the department, you might not be giving a speech, you might not be felicitating anyone, you might not be there on the stage giving anything, but you are doing everything. So behind the scenes is the most important. That's what we say.
And a huge responsibility.
Huge responsibility. I believe it's a whole lot. And that you can't relax for a program, you can't relax until it's done. So you can't relax.
So
I feel that
the
all the
presence
time.
of mind is very, very important.
Very
Being
important.
alert.
Presence of mind, being flexible, being alert, having a smile on your face, even if you are anxious inside, that your presence of mind cannot be
That you are
shaken
very
or anywhere.
calm. You are
Yeah, you
very
have to
calm and
be.
all that you have
Yes.
got to show.
Whatever
Well,
problems
Professor.
happen, that is there,
That,
and you do it
yes.
well. I
Well,
think that's it.
okay.
Any other questions? Did the
Yes.
students do this? You do
Yes.
have it in your classes,
Yes,
colleges,
a
right?
chat box. It's
Yeah.
there. It's
Yeah.
a new topic for them, new subject,
Okay.
this
Yeah, I'm
comparing.
glad.
Hence, they had
Anytime they
some.
want to talk something, my email is there. Please ask them to give me. I can give you any sort of advice there
Advice.
on this, because it's something I love very close to my heart. So I can help in any way.
That's
Yeah.
a very kind of
Mm,
you, Professor.
thank you.
Professor, could
Sure.
you guide the students
Yeah.
how to equip the tone,
Okay.
modulation of the voice,
Okay.
how to get trained in it? Are there some apps or any books which they could read and see where it has to be paused and all, or how they
Yeah,
have got to do it?
yeah. I think best way is, now that it's the age of the internet, you can listen to audiobooks, or you can even listen to the tone. See, one example I'll give you. You learning the small words, the word days in the stage. I used to pronounce this as dias. I thought it was dias, but it was only a few years down the road that I understood it was days. So that was a conscious thing that I did, and I remember, okay, it's days. So I started saying that, days. Certain entourage. That's a term that you don't use much. So that pronunciation, you learn that pronunciation. Again, alumni association. Sometimes we usually say alumni association. It's wrong. So alumni, because it's a Latin word. So alumni association. So you learn those terms, and I would say the tone of the words has to come by reading. You definitely not a monotonous tone. You can't, well, ma'am, if I want, I can continue doing like this, but then what would be the effect of the whole program? It will be dull, everyone would be sleeping. But then when I say it, the way I say it would be different, because that would bring in the voice modulation. So it's very important, the way you talk. And you can't shout. How can you always shout and do that? You can't do that. So this is it, voice modulation. So basically, I think when students are studying English literature, since we are all students of English, the pauses, the commas bring in the small pauses, and the full stops bringing the full end stop. So that is very important when it comes to
Punctuation marks.
yes, I think there was a session on that. So it is
Yes,
very
yes.
important. Yeah.
Yes.
So see, basically, when you say orchestra, the conducting is something that keeps an orchestra or a choir in time and together. It conducting keeps an orchestra or a choir in time or and together. We can say that. But what is it difference? So a few words, when they are brought in together and kept together, when you talk reading, I'm sure people who are talking about reading would talk of that, the span of time, the eye span, and then using that together. So conducting is like keeps an orchestra or a choir in time and together. So that voice break, or putting a few words together and breaking at the right time, also helps when you read. And again, one more thing, I think, when you read something, when you understand and read, and when you speak, that is understood by the audience.
Sounds
You can't,
natural. It should.
yeah, it's just natural, and it brings in the voice modulation, I think. It is an unconscious effort. But if you don't understand something, if you read it, that doesn't come through. So I think that comes by practice. Students can, stand in front of a mirror and maybe read aloud and practice. Even any speech for that matter, it's good to speak aloud and practice. And you can listen to audio lectures, I think, and look at the pronunciation. And there are also TED Talks, which I keep telling students, which is something you can listen to, increase your
Very inspiring.
intonation, the voices that you can do. I'm sure that practice makes perfect, anything for that matter. And I think students can do that, voice modulation, intonation, and setting the tone and speaking with a lot of energy and effort. and your passion for anything comes through. So if you're passionate about what you're doing, I'm sure that would come through in any way. So I think
So that's
something that
very
comes
well.
offhand in my mind. Anything else?
And then somebody had asked that body language is also important, no?
Yes,
Keeping
very
eye
important.
contact,
Yeah,
the way
I did put.
they,
Yes,
the way they
I
present.
wanted to say that because if we are in a standing position, especially, if you're sitting down, well, it's okay for a compare because you're not seen or heard. But if you're especially standing on the stage and you're standing erect for any matter, even it be for a public speech or for anything for that matter, dressing modestly and carrying yourself, your body language, as I say, the non-verbal signals. Again, I think that has been covered. The non-verbal signals are very important when it comes to any conversation for that matter, any speech for that matter. And it is more for a compare also. The body language, the way you stand and the way you sit, the way you carry yourself. As I said, if you don't have a podium, for a compare to stand on stage would be very difficult because you will have the paper on one hand, you will have to carry the mic on the other hand. Sometimes the mic might be there, the paper might fall down. So all these things can happen. So it's good to think early. And then again, I don't know, our students maybe standing on both your legs are very important. I keep saying that to students. I don't know whether I should say this in a public, but again, the way you carry yourself, then not looking down, looking at people, making eye contact, looking at the audience, right? You don't look that side or this side or at the end of the wall, end of the auditorium. You look at the people, you look at their faces, make eye contact, and use your non-verbal communication also. And again, your facial expressions matter,
Oh, that's
because
very
you
important.
have to keep smiling. Yeah, it's very
Mm.
important. You can't frown and, give a speech or even be a
Yes.
compare, A compare cannot do that. You have to smile. You have to be confident. You have to be confident till the end, even when you are scolded, even when you are making mistakes, even when there is a whole lot of confusion, there's delay. Maybe you have to get to another place, but you have to stick around, be there and be alert and be amiable throughout. So the tone, the ambience is set by the compare, I feel. So it's very important in that way, I think.
So
Yeah.
it's a performance itself.
It is a
So it's a
performing
stage
art, I would say.
performance.
That's why I use the term art of comparing. It's an art.
True.
I feel it's an art. It's an art where you put on a lot of shoes, you take on a lot of roles, and you communicate. And again, communication is happening, and the right way of communication should happen, and within the stipulated time. You cannot exceed your time. You cannot go on and on and on. I've heard our chief minister once was scolding compare because he did not like the way she was doing it, but there were that's a totally different thing. But sometimes a compare has to get and you have to think about that. You have to I feel for that people, because you have to do a job, but then there might not be time. So how that is again one act of balancing that a compare has to do. Sometimes you might be ready with a lot of things to say, but the program would be very late, so you'll have to cut short. You'll have to summarize more like we do our presentations. You have half an hour, but sometimes you'll have to do it within 10 minutes. So how do you do it? So that art of summarizing also is something that a complex should do. You will have to think of the time. That's exactly what I was talking about. Again, at closing time, you might have a lot to say. You might want to add your wishes, but it's time. So you cut short all that and you finish it off, because you have to look at the next session that is going to happen. You have to look at the time, whether it's lunchtime, whether it's time to go, the climate, okay, or whatever it is that is pressing of time. So you might have to juggle on all that. You have to cut short. So that is also something that a compare has to do. So it has to be in mind, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's something
Thank you,
also very.
Professor. Thank you so much. On
I hope
behalf of
it was in any way, I think,
very informative
informative.
and
Yeah. Okay.
very
Then my
enlightening
job is done.
also. Yes,
Okay.
we
Thank
have
you.
got so many appreciation in the chat box.
Okay.
The
Thank
students
you.
are telling because it's a
Okay.
new topic, and so much is there which
Yeah.
happens before the anchorer comes on the stage. The comparer
Yes.
starts the program. So much of
Yes.
preparation is needed because he is all in all. He wears so many hats there, and then he
Yes.
has to play the roles. So it was really very enlightening and
Thank you.
enriching session.
Thank you.
On behalf of the management of V.V.N. Trust, the chief executive, administrator, and academics, principal, faculty members, and students at V.V.N. Degree College, I express our deep sense of sincere thanks and appreciation for all the details of the art of anchoring, the art of comparing you have shared with the participants. Thank you so much, Professor Anne, for accepting our invitation and being part of this national level student development program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Students, the link is given there in the chat box. So do attend the questions on today's session and give your feedback also. Tomorrow, we'll be meeting at 11 o'clock, and the topics are Dr. Uday Ravi Shastri from Tipaturu in Karnataka would take a first session on language learning through logology. And the second session will be taken by Dr. Maitri Shinde from Hyderabad, HOD of English from St. Mary's College, Hyderabad. So she will be taking up the session on self-introductions in interviews. So self-introduction should be so effective that the interviewers must select you on listening your self-introduction. So tomorrow, exactly at 11, we'll start our sessions. So students will take leave now. Stay at home, take care, stay safe, and stay blessed always.